Hey everybody, this is No Bones About Wrestling. I'm your host, Asa, and I'm here with Kay Fabulous.
Hey.
And this is your AEW Dynamite report. And this is from July 6, 2023, and they were live in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And this was a hot crowd, much better than the depressing Hamilton crowd from Collision this past Saturday.
Yeah.
That was a depressing show to watch. Those people seemed like they were forced to be there. Yeah. So this show starts off. Renee Paquette is with Keith Lee and Darby Allin. Darby tells Keith Lee to pull his head out of his ass and take this seriously. He says, we'll see which Keith Lee shows up, because they have a blind eliminator tournament quarterfinal match coming up against each other. And Keith Lee says, something like, that took balls, or ballsy is what he said. So I don't know why Darby Allin felt it was his place to call out Keith Lee and say what,
Because Darby cares about AEW.
I guess that's why,
Keith Lee hasn't been giving it his all.
Okay.
And so Darby's calling him on his bullshit because he cares about the company.
He gave it his all tonight.
Hell yeah, he did.
So we had an AEW World Tag Team Title Blind Eliminator Tournament quarterfinal match.
It's a mouthful.
It would be nice if they would come up with a better name for it, but that's what it is. International Champion Orange Cassidy teaming up with Darby Allin, and they're taking on the former tag team who were reunited in this blind eliminator tournament. Swerve Strickland, accompanied by the Mogul Embassy, of course, and Keith Lee.
They're former tag team champions, aren't
Former
they?
tag team champions, yes.
Yeah.
Before the match starts, Keith Lee sneaks up and shouts in Swerve's ear. That was pretty funny. Gives Swerve a bit of a scare. The match starts and Darby smacks Lee in the face. Lee beels Darby all the way across the ring. Pretty impressive. Orange Cassidy comes in, does his thing with the weak kicks and the weak chops. Keith Lee chops him down. Cassidy's back up, puts his hands in his pockets, gets struck down again. Darby Allin comes in, tries a coffin drop, gets caught. Cassidy hits the orange punch on Keith Lee. Swerve gets tagged in, hits a series of strikes in the corner. Swerve Irish whips Allin out of the ring. Back in the ring, Allin and Cassidy hit a double-team suplex on Strickland. And then back in the ring, back outside the ring. I couldn't understand my own notes. Back outside the ring, Swerve put the ring steps on top of Darby. And then Cassidy tries to put Lee to sleep. Gets on his back and puts him in a sleeper hold. Keith Lee walks up the ring steps with Darby still under the ring steps and Orange Cassidy on his back. Pretty cool spot there. Back in the ring, Lee blocks the Stun Dog Millionaire a couple times. Darby comes in, hits a code red on Lee. Swerve comes off the ropes with a 450 splash, but lands on Lee. Swerve goes for an enziguri, but hits Lee. So mistiming rather, costing Lee and Strickland. Cassidy dives outside with a tornado DDT on Lee. Darby gets some sort of a leg hold pin on Strickland for the win. So Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin advance to the semifinals of this tournament. This was an excellent opener.
Mm-hmm.
4 bones out of 5. Great way to start Dynamite. Kay, what do you have to say about this match?
Early on, Swerve uses Lee as kind of like a launching pad for the first move that Swerve really does in the match, and I thought that was great. It was a great sort of way to introduce himself into the fray. I thought the crowd was great. I thought this match was great. Keith Lee is looking very good in this match. Like a new man. Like, this is the Keith Lee that people have talked about that I've never seen before.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I've never seen the big deal about Keith Lee.
But this match, he was
why
a big
people
deal.
Cared, but this match, right, I agree. He was very impressive, this match.
Yeah, and going up the steps on Darby, like, damn.
That was a cool spot.
That was a cool spot. And it looked just, like, brutal. And Darby reacted to it phenomenally. And then I thought he hit Orange Cassidy hit the 2 Stun Dog Millionaires, followed by the Code Red by Darby. Did he miss them? I thought he hit 2.
I thought one got blocked, and I think he hit the second one. It wasn't really clear.
Okay, I thought he went for Keith 3, Lee, and he hit 2 and didn't get the third one, and that's when Darby did the Code Red.
I think he went for 2. If he hit them, Keith Lee didn't sell them very much. So
yeah. But yeah, I can't believe that, like, Keith Lee is capable of this, and we're only just now seeing it with as many matches as he's had in AEW, with as many times as he's tagged with Swerve. Like, I'm just so excited that I'm finally getting to see what people have been talking about. Maybe it was Darby Allin's talk with him. Maybe that gave him the kick in the pants that he needed, you know? Yeah.
So, I don't know. Like I said, I had never seen I'd seen flashes of it, but never really for an entire match seen why people thought he was such a big deal. But I finally did.
Well, like the match
match here.
Yeah, the match he just had with Orange Cassidy and Vikingo as a trios match.
Yeah. He looked good there.
He looked good there. Yeah. Not as good as he looked here, but like you could see like little glimpses of the man people talked about. And so it was nice to get to see like a whole match of him being that person.
So Cassidy and Darby advance, and, well, we'll get to that later, actually. Then we have a video package. Darby Allin talks about his trainer, Buddy Wayne, talks about the death of his trainer, Buddy Wayne, and how he felt the need to kind of watch over Buddy Wayne's son a bit after his death. And Nick Wayne has been wrestling in Defy, and he was offered an AEW contract when he was 16, 2 years ago. That's how good this kid is, apparently. And I've seen clips of him, and he's pretty good. Has no physique. I mean,
Well, he's a child.
Well, he's not now. Has no physique, but nonetheless. So now Nick Wayne is 18 and is debuting next week against Swerve Strickland.
If you think about it, he has the physique of like a college basketball player versus like an NBA player. You know, like to me, that's because of his age. He's more in line with like a college freshman. They're not going to be like big and beefy. Like how many NCAA players do you see that are like
he's
tanks,
wiry,
you know? Yeah,
he's wiry.
And so I think that'll come with time, is my point, you know?
And so he and Swerve Strickland I believe they've had some standout matches in Defy, which is a promotion in the Pacific Northwest.
Oh, him and Swerve?
Nick Wayne and Swerve have,
cool.
I believe so.
Maybe we'll get to see some of that then.
And so that's why they're putting him with someone with whom he's worked before next week.
Oh, okay, I didn't know who his match was against next week.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting. He'll be the youngest person. Well, he and Billy Starks will be, the youngest people in AEW history. Up next, we see a video of Jack Perry and Hook, what transpired last week. And then Tony Schiavone catches up with Jack Perry in the garage just as Jack Perry's car arrives. And Jack Perry says he's going to Tony Khan's office to demand an FTW title match against Hook. And speak of the devil, Hook shows up, starts beating on Jack Perry, Jack Perry gets right back in the car and says, leave, and they leave. And that's the last we hear of it tonight.
I like this, like, coward heel Jack Perry.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I'm so glad they're doing something interesting with his character.
Yeah, I agree.
And did they referred to him as Jack Perry and not Jungle Boy?
No,
correct?
they referred to him as Jungle
Did
Boy.
they? Okay.
Jack Perry, yeah.
I think it's time to leave that behind.
Yeah, I think they will soon.
Especially since they dropped the music, you know, like, gave him a new look. It's the last thing that needs to go.
Mm-hmm. We then get a recap of the MJF and Adam Cole pairing in this blind eliminator tag team tournament. And we see clips, you know, the last week, MJF and Adam Cole, MJF asked Adam Cole to hang out, and he and Adam Cole left in MJF's chauffeured SUV. And then we get a video package of MJF and Adam Cole hanging out at the gym. And MJF asks Adam Cole to spot for him. Adam Cole instead is playing on his smartphone and isn't watching, which is very dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Not safe.
Not safe. And MJF, you know, does some impressive weightlifting there. And then they switch, and Adam Cole, obviously not as strong as MJF. You know, MJF asks, do you want me to take some of the weight off? And Cole's like, no, I got it. And then Cole goes and does more reps than MJF did, but it's a tight close-up. Like, it's obvious that there are men on either side of the weights lifting, helping lift the weight for Adam Cole.
Obvious to us.
Well, it's obvious to us,
yes. I don't think it's supposed to be obvious.
But it was, because the weight was going up at an angle, yeah. The weight was going up at an angle.
Maybe he's just stronger with his right arm, you know?
But, and MJF was shocked by Adam Cole's strength. It was a pretty funny bit.
Yeah.
Pretty funny. Up next, we had a trios match. The Acclaimed and Daddy Ass continue their march for trios gold as they took on the Bollywood Boys and the Blade. Talk about a random pairing.
Bollywood Boys are from Canada, so I think maybe that's why they had this match in Canada.
So, Bowens hit the Sesame Timbers on one of the Bollywood Boys. Bollywood Boys double team flying elbow drop on Max Caster. They had a double team suplex, and then they dance.
I enjoyed that. The dancing.
Yeah?
Yeah. It wasn't like Daniel Garcia's dancing, which I hate.
Blade with an Irish whip. Caster ducks a clothesline. And then there's a double clothesline. Both men down. Tag into Bowens. He takes out the Bollywood Boys. Max Caster tagged back in. Hits the mic drop on one of the Bollywood Boys. And that's the pin. Not much to this match. Gave it 3 bones out of 5. Just, you know, decent match. Decent trios match. Very one-sided. They beat up Max Caster for a while. They tag in Daddy Ass. He does a move. They tag in Bowens. He does his thing. Tag in Caster for the win. That was it. Just there for them to get a trios win. That's all. Mm-hmm. And then Harley Cameron of QTV appears on the giant screen and says that she has a video next week that will make Pina, Butter, and Jealous. And I say Pina because that's what she said. She didn't say peanut. She said Pina, Butter, and Jealous. So she says, they're rapping, and they're not giving her credit for her singing skills. So she's going to have some sort of singing or rapping video next week. So I'm sure we all look forward to that. And then Daddy Ass says, of course, he has 2 words for her. Suck it. We then get video highlights of... I'm sorry. Do you have anything to say about that match? Yeah.
Yes. Do you feel like the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass's matches are becoming too formulaic?
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. Why are they doing that? Like, they have 3 of them. They can switch it up. Like, it doesn't have to be...
because the act is working, so why stop?
Because their matches are becoming kind of boring because they're the same every week.
I agree. but people are still loving it and eating it up and buying their merchandise, so they figure why change it up if it's working. But I think they are becoming too formula, because I knew exactly how this match was going to go. They were going to beat up Caster, and like I said, tag in Daddy Ass for a minute, hot tag to Bowens, and then Caster hit the mic drop for the win.
It reminded me of John Cena's WrestleMania match. You know how like John Cena does like a specific John Cena match now? Like that's, I feel like, where the Acclaimed have ended up. Like there's a specific Acclaimed match that you get to see every week, but there's no variation.
Yeah, you know? I agree.
So I would love to see that stop as soon as possible. I mean, this match obviously was longer than their last match, which I think was like they said was 41 seconds on Rampage.
Something like that. I thought it was like 50 seconds or something.
No, it said 41 on the bottom.
Oh, okay.
On the, like the title that comes up when they walk out. Which I thought was like crazy fast. I didn't remember it being that short, but that's what it said. But even that, it followed basically the same pattern. It was just shorter. So I would love to see them change things up a bit.
No, I agree.
You know, a fresh coat of paint.
Fresh coat of pink paint.
Yes.
Which is in worldwide short supply. Have you heard that?
Pink paint?
Because of the Barbie movie?
Oh my god, nuh-uh.
It's in worldwide short supply, I guess, because I don't know if they used that much in the Barbie movie, or or the Barbie movie has just made the color pink so popular.
Yes, that is it. It's not that the Barbie movie used so much paint that there's a nationwide shortage.
Worldwide shortage.
Oh, I'm sorry, worldwide shortage.
Of pink
you
paint.
thought that they used so much pink paint in that movie.
I don't know what they've done. I don't know what they've done.
That doesn't make sense, because when you go to like Home Depot or Lowe's to buy paint, you're buying a white can of paint and they add the pigment to it to make pink.
So I guess there's a pigment shortage.
Yeah, because you don't buy like already pink paint.
Yeah. So I guess there's a shortage of the pigment is what it means.
Well, that sucks, because they use the same pigment for like mixing every color, you know, except just in different quantities. Yeah, it's like red, yellow, blue, and then
there has to be something else to it. I read some. I didn't expect to have such a discussion about it, but there's some sort of shortage of pink paint. Yes.
Okay, interesting.
So next we see video highlights of Eddie Kingston. He is in Japan, and he won the New Japan Strong Openweight Championship. And he was, as a young man, was a big fan of Japanese wrestling, so that was kind of a lifelong dream of his, winning a championship in New Japan, so good for him.
Mm-hmm. He also wore a Jay Briscoe shirt out to honor Jay Briscoe's memory.
Right after that, we get a Jon Moxley, Eddie Kingston video package about their friendship/rivalry. And Moxley, who is also in Japan right now, says he doesn't understand why Kingston is always so mad, because they've both kind of gotten what they wanted out of their wrestling lives. They're both in AEW, wrestling in Japan as well, and they both got what they wanted. So he's happy, so why isn't Eddie? And he then concludes it by saying, Eddie, pick up your phone.
So this is a ridiculous promo, right? That Jon Moxley is happy and is not angry all the time, and his advice to Eddie is you shouldn't be angry all the time. Look at me. I'm not angry all the time, when all we've seen of Jon Moxley for the last 2 years is fucking angry all the time Jon Moxley. They need to do a video before this of him cuddling a bunch of puppies or something to sell this is now a happy Jon Moxley. Because all he does in his promos usually is angry Jon Moxley voice.
I think the idea of it is he's doing this is real.
This is real.
This is real. Okay. Yes. So he's really happy. That's a character.
I gotcha.
So he's really happy.
And he wants Eddie to
he really wants Eddie to pick up his phone.
Yeah. So he's acknowledging that he's doing a character.
Correct.
But he's also saying Eddie is not doing a character.
Correct. Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. We then get a promo, just a promo of for Blood and Guts, which is coming up July 19th. One of my favorite things, if not my favorite thing, AEW does, which it's War Games. Let's call it what it is. Of course, they can't call it that for copyright reasons, but War Games, since the 80s, since the NWA did it, it's been one of the coolest things in wrestling. Lock a bunch of guys in 2 rings and a giant steel cage with a hot rivalry going and have them settle it. It's a great formula. That's why it always works.
Wasn't there a War Games where there was like a second floor that was full of weapons?
Correct, yes. And then I believe there was a third floor which had the world title belt in it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It was awesome, yes.
Why don't they do the second floor of weapons anymore?
Because they've gone to the more traditional teams format. That was when there was an every man for himself format.
Oh, okay.
Which sounds interesting, but what didn't work as well as the teams.
Yeah.
The teams works a lot better.
Sense, yeah.
So Blood and Guts, July 19th, we have the Blackpool Combat Club, which, of course, Bryan Danielson is injured. He'll be out for several months with a broken arm. We have Jon Moxley, Wheeler Yuta, Ring of Honor World Champion Claudio Castagnoli, and then Konosuke Takeshita, and one more man, and they will face Team Elite, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, Hangman Adam Page, and one more man on their team. It'll be interesting to see who rounds out these rosters,
Can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm trying to remember the previous Blood and Guts. They're actually locked in the cage? Because I thought last year or the year before, isn't this the one where Jericho got launched off the roof of the cage?
In one of the Blood and Guts, yeah.
So how did they get out?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't remember specifically that one.
Okay. I thought I just remembered in previous ones there being lots of people on the top of the cage. So I thought
that may have happened. I don't recall, honestly.
Okay.
In the last one, in Blood and Guts 2, which I believe was the last one, that didn't happen, I don't think.
But they got out?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay.
I remember a bunch of people. They may have, now that I think about it. Well, we'll have to go back and watch it. There's a good excuse to go back and watch it. A bunch of people bled, and it was a good fight.
A lot of blood.
Great match. So great, I bought a t-shirt of the match.
That's right. You got your Blood and Guts shirt.
It was a great match. I loved it. That was Jericho Appreciation Society versus... Who was the other team?
I know Eddie Kingston was on it.
Yeah.
He's the only person I remember.
Is it just AEW guys, AEW faces versus Jericho Appreciation Society?
John Moxley was on it,
wasn't he? Yeah. There's Moxley, Kingston, whatever.
Yeah.
Up next, we have a Wheeler Yuta promo, and Yuta claims he's taking out Kenny Omega tonight. Yeah, good luck. Next, Chris Jericho comes out, and he is greeted well by his hometown Edmonton crowd. And he's wearing this awesome mirrored jacket.
Yeah, it's super cool.
That I believe you're giving... Am I spoiling something?
I don't know. Are you going to tell him who the wrestler's outfit of the week is?
Who the what?
The male wrestler outfit of the week?
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah, it's gonna go to Jericho.
The male outfit of the week.
Probably. It's only Wednesday wrestling. We still have Friday and Saturday to get through, but
who's going to beat a mirrored jacket?
Who knows?
Oh,
okay. I didn't expect Escobar to come out as an Aztec last time, so you never know what you're going to see in wrestling.
That's true. And Jericho says he suffered some big losses lately, and it's time to rethink some things. And he talks about his beginnings in wrestling, and how, of course, being in Edmonton makes him think about his beginnings in wrestling, and makes him think about Stu Hart, and the Hart Dungeon, and, of course, the Hart family from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, who nearish Edmonton, Alberta. And the crowd goes, "Stu." They say, "Stu, Stu, Stu, Stu." And he thinks that they're booing. He says, "Why would you boo?" He says, "Are you really booing Stu Hart?" But Jericho misunderstands. The crowd says, "Stu." They're saying, "Stu."
Kay also misunderstands. I thought they were booing also.
Yeah, no, the crowd says, "Stu." But he misunderstood. Don Callis comes out, gets heavily booed. Of course, he turned on another of Edmonton's favorite sons, Kenny Omega, and Callis asks Jericho to join his family that he's putting together. And Jericho says, he doesn't join factions, he creates them. Of course, since his time in AEW, we've had what? We had the Inner Circle. Mm-hmm. We've had the Jericho Appreciation Society. We've had two big factions that Jericho has started. And they talk for a bit and kind of stroke each other's egos and talk about how important they've been to each other's careers. And Don Callis says that if they hadn't done Jericho versus Omega in the Tokyo Dome, perhaps AEW wouldn't exist. And they talk about that, and long story short, Jericho eventually answers Don Callis' request, and he says, "Maybe." And the crowd seems shocked. Mm-hmm. And Jericho leaves. And Don Callis seems kind of pleased with that answer. Better than a no, always, is a maybe.
Mm-hmm. I was not shocked with a maybe. Were you shocked with a maybe?
No, because why else would they have done this segment?
Yeah. Well, unless they're just doing generic, like...
I was surprised. Once the segment began, I wasn't surprised, but I was surprised that Jericho would be a part of someone else's faction, yeah. Mm-hmm. So maybe they will do it, and we'll do something interesting with it. We'll see. We'll see. I could see it being interesting with Callis, with Konosuke Takeshita, with Chris Jericho. Who else does he have? That's it right now.
Right now he just has Takeshita.
Right now he just has Takeshita, yeah. And he tried to get Will Ospreay.
Oh, I forgot about that, yeah.
So we'll see what kind of...
It seems like the Jericho Appreciation Society is on its way out.
Yeah.
That's what's making me think that this is a possibility.
Right, exactly. Because less and less do we see them together. Mm-hmm. And less do we see people like Sammy Guevara with the Jericho Appreciation Society.
And one thing I heard together, a lot of them look like they don't want to be there.
Is that right?
Sammy does. He doesn't seem excited to be with Jericho and the JAS. Like, I'm going to spoil something that happens later. I hope that's okay. Like, Sammy gets partnered in the Blind Eliminator tournament with Garcia, who's also in the JAS. Mm-hmm. Neither of them look like they're excited that they're partnered with someone that they're already in a partnership with, you know? Right. And so it just seems like it's a faction that you used to be excited about, but has lost its like appeal to you, you know?
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, I think the Jericho Appreciation Society, it's time to call it a day. Mm-hmm. I think.
But I really like the entrance, like the glitter on the entrance, like the camera shot of like the gold glitter falling. So I just really hope when they split that Jericho keeps that, because it's so pretty.
Chris Jericho has to have set the record for the most entrance videos in AEW.
Yeah.
He has to have had no less than like 8.
Really?
Well, I was going through in the new video game, you can pick different entrance videos for the wrestlers, mm-hmm. and Jericho has like 8 or 9 on the video game, which made me realize that. Yeah. And I was like, he has had a bunch of different entrance videos. Huh. Because he's got so many different nicknames and gimmicks, and he's constantly reinventing himself. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's one of the best in the business at that, if not the best, at constantly, he does not keep the same act. he constantly reinvents himself.
Keeps it fresh.
He keeps it fresh, yeah. He's very creative. He's one of the best creative minds in pro wrestling history. I think so. Not just for his own stuff, but, he's like, he came up with Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
Comes up with stuff for others, as I understand it. He talks to Tony Khan about booking as well, so very creative guy. All you have to do is read his books, and you can tell how creative he is as well. Very creative guy. Next, we get a CM Punk Samoa Joe video package. They fight Saturday on Collision in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament in a semifinal. And CM Punk says he hasn't beaten Samoa Joe yet in his career, but he's going to win on Saturday. We then get a very short Powerhouse Hobbs Ricky Starks video package. They also fight Saturday in an Owen Hart Foundation tournament semifinal. Then Renee Paquette is with Doc Samson and Roderick Strong. Roderick Strong, of course, was stretchered out of the arena after his quarterfinal match against Samoa Joe on Saturday. Strong is in a neck brace here, and he says he feels great. He doesn't look great. Doc Samson says, not so fast. He says, we still got to do this and that, blah, blah, blah. And you're in a neck brace, dude. Slow down. Adam Cole comes in, and, Strong's glad to see him, but he asks, what's up with him and MJF? Adam Cole says, don't worry about it, And Cole gets a text from MJF asking, are you ready to hit that double clothesline? As they have a blind tag team title eliminator match next. And Cole leaves, and Strong kind of looks after him like, what the fuck is up with that dude, What the fuck is up with Cole and MJF? And then we get this show was great this week.
Agreed.
Overall, but the next segment is the most entertaining of the week, I think. The AEW World Tag Team title eliminator quarterfinal match. World Champion MJF teaming up with Adam Cole, taking on Matt Menard of the Jericho Appreciation Society and The Butcher. And MJF steals Cole's mannerisms as they enter, and even high-fives fans on his way down, which to see MJF high-fiving fans just feels wrong.
Well, and I don't know, I'm sure you've noticed this, he always takes his gum out and then throws it at the crowd.
He threw it on the floor. Exactly,
instead of at the crowd. I was shocked.
Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah, he even did the boom.
Yeah, and they get in the ring, and he does the boom with Adam Cole, and Cole's looking at him like, what is up with this dude?
Yeah. That's
very
good.
funny. Yeah, good stuff. Matt Menard and the Butcher jump them before the bell as Cole and MJF are trying to get on the same page. MJF puts Menard in an abdominal stretch, and MJF is trying to get Adam Cole to reach out and give him more leverage on the hold. And MJF even gets the crowd to start a do it, do it, do it chant targeted at Adam Cole. And that was funny. And the crowd starts it. And Adam Cole won't do it. And then MJF gets him to start the chant again. And Cole gives in. And he goes to the dark side and he cheats. Menard then hip tosses MJF off of him. The Butcher and Menard go to work on MJF. The Butcher then has MJF in an abdominal stretch. MJF hits a low blow on the Butcher to get out. Going back to his cheating ways, yes, that's how MJF is. Menard puts MJF in an abdominal stretch. A lot of abdominal stretches in this match. He hip tosses his way out of it. He tries to tag Cole, but the Butcher intercepts. Menard in. MJF with an eye poke, and then a hot tag to Cole. He comes in and takes down Menard. He pump kicks him. MJF wants the tag for the double clothesline. He's calling for it. He's saying, double clothesline! Double clothesline! He's on the apron. Cole super kicks Butcher, super kicks Menard. MJF, double clothesline! Tag me! Adam Cole hits the boom on Menard for the pin and the win. MJF and Adam Cole advance to the semifinals. MJF and Adam Cole then grab mics. MJF gets Cole to, quote, do the thing, which is Cole crouching down and then coming up and saying, Adam Cole, baby, while the whole crowd says it with him. MJF says they would have done better had they gone for the double clothesline. Adam Cole is like, dude, let it go, you know? Very funny stuff. MJF says they need another bro session. MJF then wishes Adam Cole happy birthday. And a massive amount of green, blue, and white streamers fly out.
Like they all land on MJF.
Yeah, he's like a streamer mummy.
Yeah, he's like robed in them.
And then these random guys dressed in black come out with birthday hats, and one of them has a small birthday cake. MJF sings happy birthday.
Like a jazzy happy birthday.
Yeah, a jazzy happy birthday to Adam Cole. And MJF is having a lot of fun with this. And MJF tries to shove Adam Cole's face in the cake in a fun way, but Adam Cole reverses it. He shoves MJF's face in the cake. And then
MJF laughs, though.
MJF laughs.
Yeah, he takes it well.
Yeah, he takes it well. And the crowd is chanting for MJF to eat the cake, and MJF eats the cake off of his face and his hands. And Adam Cole sincerely thanks MJF and calls him friend.
Yeah.
He says thanks. Well, I forget exactly what he says, but he thanks him and uses the word friend.
Mm-hmm.
And MJF seems very pleased with all of this, and it was a delightful segment.
It was delightful. Is this your match of the night?
Oh, no. Oh, I just realized I didn't give it a bone rating. I was so taken by everything that was happening, I didn't even give it a bone rating. 4 bones out of 5. I give that match. Good match. Fun time.
But not your match of the night.
No, not my match of the night. No.
Okay.
No.
This was my match of the night because it was so fun.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. You gotta let fun be a factor sometimes, you know? Like, overall enjoyment of the match. This was the most enjoyable to me. Therefore, it was the match of the night. Yours is based on, like, wrestling skill.
Yeah.
Which plays a factor in mine, but enjoyment is also a big part of it.
Let's see.
Can I mention one thing that you didn't mention?
Yeah. What? Yeah.
So, MJF hits Butcher in the nuts.
Right.
And Taz called it a 5-on-2 situation.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And then later he hits Menard in the nuts, and he goes, "Oh, we got another 5-on-2 situation here." And I just thought that was really funny.
That is funny. No, I missed that. We get a Dr. Britt Baker DMD promo as she is facing Ruby Soho in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament quarterfinals tonight. And up next, Jericho is with Renee, Daniel Garcia, and Sammy Guevara. And Jericho says that they can't be under his wing forever. And Renee takes this time to announce that Daniel Garcia and Sammy Guevara are actually blind eliminator tag team tournament partners. And as Kay said earlier, Garcia and Guevara, who are in the same stable, you'd think they'd be happy and pleased. They have not much reaction at all to it.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have the Owen Hart Foundation tournament quarterfinal. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, last year's winner, taking on Ruby Soho, accompanied by the Outcasts, Women's World Champion Toni Storm, and Saraya. Britt hits a sling blade after a feeling out process of several moves back and forth by the ladies. Baker is confronted by the Outcasts on the outside, but she stands up to them, stands her ground. Saraya chokes Baker on the middle rope after a while. Some strikes by Baker, a clothesline, then a neck breaker by Baker on Soho. Baker, very early on here, puts on her medical glove as though she's going to go for her finisher. What's it called?
The lockjaw.
Is that what it's called? The lockjaw?
Yeah.
Oh, the lockjaw. Baker with a super kick. And Baker moving in on Soho, but Toni Storm trips her up. Soho scales the top rope, goes for a stomp, but Baker moves. Baker hits a thrust kick, goes for the pin, 2 count. Saraya distracts the ref. Toni Storm holds the Owen Hart belt from last year, the ceremonial belt, and Ruby Soho rams Baker's head into it, goes for the pin off of that, 2 count.
She does no future on her first.
Oh, thank you. And hits no future and gets a 2 count. I thought that was going to be the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Ruby Soho was going for the lockjaw. Baker reverses. The Outcasts drag Ruby outside, get her out of the ring there. Baker takes them both out, being Saraya and Storm. Back in the ring, Ruby Soho with a victory roll, and she holds on to the Outcast's hands on the outside. For the 1-2-3, Ruby Soho wins and advances to the semifinals with a win over Britt Baker. The Outcasts and Soho, well, being one of the Outcasts, they run away. They hightail it out of there as Storm and Saraya go behind the curtain. Soho is about to go behind the curtain, and out comes Sky Blue to kind of face her down and be like, yeah, well, I'm next, And Ruby backs down, and then she leaves. This was a good match, a little slow at points, but a good match nonetheless. I gave it 3.5 bones out of 5. Okay, what do you have to say about this one?
I enjoyed it. I agree with you that there were some slower movements than expected. Like, several of the moves, like, it wasn't the pace of the match was slow, but some of the actual slow moves, like, not quite to the point where it looked like it was in slow motion, but getting kind of close to it. I liked that Ruby rolled out of the ring early on, just to kind of, like, set the stage for the Outcasts getting involved, and also to sort of establish her, like, we're going to do this my way kind of attitude. I had something that I wanted to talk about related to this match. And it was after Britt Baker kicked out after getting hit in the head with the belt and Ruby doing a no future on her.
Mm-hmm.
Do finishers, like, mean anything anymore? Are they messing with that formula too much of, like, people kicking out of finishers? Like, if Ruby hits her finisher after Britt Baker gets hit in the head first by a piece of metal and she still kicks out, what kind of shit finisher is that?
Yeah, I agree.
And it made me think of Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega's match, where when Ospreay did Kenny's finisher, the one-winged angel on Kenny, and Kenny kicked out after a 1 count, which was awesome. But also, when you stop and think about it, really makes that finisher look pretty shitty, unless Will Ospreay did it wrong, but it didn't look like he did it wrong. So, and, like, AEW isn't as bad about that as WWE. Like, WWE, I feel like finishers don't mean anything anymore for the most part. But do you feel like AEW is headed that way? Because I was trying to think of finishers or submission moves that no one has ever kicked out of.
One-Winged Angel by Omega, no one's ever kicked out of.
Yeah, except he's kicked out of it.
Yeah, but I said One-Winged Angel by Omega.
By Omega, yeah. And I know for a while the Paradigm Shift was one that no one had ever kicked out of. And the Mousetrap pin by Cassidy was one, but then someone kicked out of it like a few weeks ago. And then I think the Red Rum is the only other one I could think of. Hook's finisher. But do you feel like, I'm just curious as to your opinion as a longtime wrestling fan, because I know finishers used to like be called that because they actually finished the matches. So do you feel like moving away from that is a bad thing, or do you think it's better to look at them more as like, because WWE doesn't even call them finishers anymore, right? They have another name for them.
I call them like signature moves.
Signature moves,
I'm
yeah.
not sure.
So do you feel like that's where wrestling is headed in general and that's a good thing, or do you feel like there needs to be, like each wrestler needs to have a move that people can't overcome?
I think, yes, that's where it's headed. I think a lot of that, I think UFC did a lot to make it that way.
To eliminate a finisher?
To eliminate finishers.
Why?
Because,
I don't know anything about UFC.
Because people can have their signature moves in UFC and signature things they do, but it's not necessarily the end of the match.
Okay.
You know, it may be the beginning of the end of the match, but it's not necessarily the end of the match.
Mm-hmm.
I can hit you with this kick, and then a minute later, you'll be done. You know,
mm-hmm.
after I've put you in a sleeper, after I hit my signature kick. So I feel like UFC and mixed martial arts, the way they work, and the way those matches flow, real fights flow, have affected the way people use finishers.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a bad thing in wrestling? Yes and no. So it makes the matches less predictable,
mm-hmm.
which is always a good thing.
Yeah.
Do I like it? No, I don't like it. Because I like people having a finisher. I don't like all this kicking out of finishers.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like you said, I think it makes them look weak. I think people need to have that move. I mean, that's what makes a wrestler look dangerous. And you can make any wrestler look dangerous. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Every wrestler has to have that. Back in the old days, you'd have a name, you'd have a gimmick, you had a finisher. And these are the first things you come up with.
Mm-hmm.
And your finisher would be something that would end the match. That's why it's called a finisher.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a thing where any wrestler, if they hit it, that's the finish of the match. So that any wrestler at any time can be made to look powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Can be made to look unbeatable if they want. Like, wow, nobody can whip him, you know? With that move. Oh, if he hits that move, it's over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that debate can be put in any matchup. Yeah, this guy may be better at this, but if he hits this move, it's over. And that's what's so... Or she. If she hits this move,
mm-hmm.
it's over.
Yeah.
I always say he. So, getting away from that, I think it does the most disservice to those mid-card and lower-card guys.
Mm-hmm.
Because it makes them just all the more beatable. Because not only now are they losing the same number of matches as they were lost in the old days, but now they don't even have that unstoppable move anymore because
mm-hmm.
nobody has an unstoppable move, not even the top guys, except Kenny Omega.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So
yeah.
now the middle card guys, you can't even make that argument. Yeah, but he could get a win if he hits X, you know?
Mm-hmm.
If he gets him in the figure four, he could beat the main event guy.
Mm-hmm.
You can't even make that argument anymore because finishers aren't finishers anymore.
Mm.
They're special moves now.
Yeah.
So I don't like it. No, I like it when a finisher is a finisher. And that's a signature move, and it is very special, and it should be seldom used that somebody kicks out of a finisher. It should be a very special thing that somebody kicks out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's different if it's a submission move. People can't submit every time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you should use it sparingly. You should probably only use it when you want to win with it, so that people aren't always kicking out of your sharpshooter or your figure four or whatever you're doing. Like, that's how Ric Flair and Bret Hart and Owen Hart used to use the sharpshooter and Sting and the figure four. They put it on when they were going to win, so people weren't kicking out of it all the time. Or weren't always getting to the ropes. But yeah, in short, I liked it when a finisher was a finisher. And it was seldom. And then when somebody kicked out of it, then it was like, holy shit, can you believe he kicked out of it? Whoa. Because now it's nothing.
Yeah.
It's so overdone that it means nothing. Which means that the finishers mean nothing.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
Yeah, I just feel like AEW, they do it for sure. But I feel like they didn't overdo it.
They don't do it. They're not as bad as at WWE.
Yeah. But tonight, like, we saw it a lot. And so I think by the time we got to this match, I was like, because, like, Orange Cassidy hitting 2 Stun Dog Millionaires, Darby hitting the Code Red.
But Orange's finisher, I think, is when you say it's the Orange Punch.
So people can have signature moves and a finisher.
Yeah, of course.
I guess maybe Ruby's her finisher isn't the No Future then?
I think hers is the No Future. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, they shouldn't have done that. They should have had her hit with the belt, do the cover, because then it makes her finisher look shitty. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, finisher should be a finisher. It should be feared. It should be the one move, and like I said, then even the lower card guys are a threat because they still have that one move where if they hit it, that's the match. It's over.
Yeah.
Then everybody is a threat because everybody has at least one move where it's done if they get it. That way everybody looks powerful, even if they lose most of their matches.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was just curious because I felt like we were seeing it kind of a lot tonight.
Yeah, it's too overdone. Good question, though.
Thanks.
Great question. Before the main event, I'm going to go through some of the matches coming up here for AEW. Rampage, Friday, is the 100th episode. I was about to say 100th anniversary. It's the 100th episode of Rampage, and it looks like a great episode. I tell you, I say this every week, but they pack the wrestling into Rampage. I really enjoy that show.
Yeah, last week it had the Vikingo match, right?
Yeah, it was Vikingo, Orange Cassidy, and Keith Lee, and that was an awesome team. I love Vikingo. What?
I know you love Vikingo.
He may be my favorite wrestler right now. I'm not sure. It's probably either he or Finn Balor or Kenny Omega.
What about Malachi Black?
Or Malachi Black.
What about Rey Fenix?
Or Rey Fenix. So Rampage, 100th episode, packed full of wrestling. We got the blind Eliminator Tag Team Tournament continuing. We have a quarterfinal match with Big Bill and 1/3 of the Ring of Honor Trios champions, Brian Cage, of course, from the Mogul Embassy. They got to change the name of that faction. It's the Mogul Embassy. It just doesn't make sense. They are Cage and Big Bill, which that's a hell of a fucking tag team.
That's a big tag team.
Brian Cage and Big Bill, that's awesome.
What sorry souls are going up against them?
Trent Beretta and Matt Sydal.
They're going to get squished.
So we're going to see if
like little bugs.
Speed and High Flying can take down just brute strength and Cage and Big Bill are fast for their size, too.
Yeah.
They're not slow guys. Another quarterfinal in the Blind Eliminator Tag Team Tournament. Jeff Jarrett and Matt Hardy. That's an interesting team of WWF Attitude throwback guys. They are taking on Sammy Guevara and Daniel Garcia of the Jericho Appreciation Society. That's the only team that has actually pitted allies together. And so we actually have brackets now, finally. Now that the tournament's been underway for a fucking week and a half, we finally have a bracket. We're going to go over the bracket in just a minute here.
You don't think Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy are allies?
I mean, people that are in a faction together.
Oh, okay.
Like, that are already allied closely.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Also on Rampage, Hikaru Ishida versus Marina Shafir. Could be good. And a trios rematch. We're going to see Hangman Page and the Young Bucks take on the Dark Order. All that's left of the Dark Order, at least. Alex Reynolds, John Silver, and Evil Uno. Just 3 members left of the Dark Order, which used to have so many guys just running around. So many guys running around that they made human chairs out of them. Literally.
You're forgetting about the leader of the Dark Order, -1.
Oh, excuse me, -1, correct. So there are 4 members of the Dark Order. So that's Rampage. Next week on Dynamite, I'm going to go over this fast. We'll have the Blind Eliminator Tag Team Tournament semifinals. Both of the semifinals will be on Dynamite. I'll go over that in a minute. The Owen Hart Foundation Tournament women's semifinal. Ruby Soho of the Outcasts will take on Sky Blue. Swerve Strickland will take on 18-year-old Nick Wayne in his AEW debut. That should be an interesting one.
He's turning 18 2 days before that episode.
Is that right?
Yeah, isn't
Wow.
that crazy?
That's
He's like
crazy.
super young. That's according to Twitter anyway.
I can't even imagine. And Commander versus Chris Jericho. Sounds like a very interesting episode of Dynamite.
I didn't see the Commander Jericho match. Awesome.
Sounds like a very interesting episode.
Yeah. Love it. What about Collision?
So that's next week on Dynamite. On Collision this week, there's a World Tag Team title eliminator match, not a tournament match, but an eliminator match. The champions, FTR, taking on Switchblade Jay White and Juice Robinson. So if White and Robinson win, they get a shot at FTR's tag belts. And we're going to have some Owen Hart Foundation semifinals on Collision. Athena, the Ring of Honor Women's World Champion, takes on New Japan Strong Women's Champion, Willow Nightingale. And in the men's semifinals, Ricky Starks faces Powerhouse Hobbs, and CM Punk faces Samoa Joe, the Ring of Honor television champion. So those should be some interesting matchups there. So real quick, I said we're going to get into it. So we have the brackets for the Blind Eliminator Tag Team Tournament to determine a number one contender for the tag team title. Which I'm glad they did this. It's a great idea. I love the quote-unquote blind draws. Mm-hmm. But for the love of God, can we really not? It's been going for a week and a half until we have brackets. Can we not have fucking brackets before the thing begins? You want me to believe that Tony Khan didn't have these brackets already? I hope that's not true.
Oh, like, is he just winging it as he goes?
Yeah,
no,
he's not winging it. He had these, right?
Yeah, I would think so.
So why not share them?
I told you my theory is that he didn't want too many brackets on the show because he's already got a women's Owen Hart Cup and a men's Owen Hart Cup.
You're probably right. So here we've had all these matches, so here are the actual brackets. Who's facing who and what. So Orange Cassidy, the international champion Orange Cassidy, and Darby Allin, they are in the semifinals. They are facing the winner of the Jeff Jarrett and Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara and Daniel Garcia match. World champion MJF and Adam Cole, they are in the semifinals. They are facing the winner of the Big Bill and Brian Cage versus Trent Beretta and Matt Sydal match. So real quick, very quick, let's break down this tournament very quickly. Jeff Jarrett and Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara and Daniel Garcia. Who do you like?
Matt Hardy and Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You think we're going to see some tension between Guevara and Garcia?
Yeah, I think so. They didn't seem like at all excited to be together.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not even a smile, not even like, oh yeah, we have an advantage. Like,
right. Nothing.
They both kind of looked like they don't want to be in the tournament, you know? Which,
well, they aren't tag guys. I mean,
they're
singles
tag wrestlers.
Yeah, they're
so
singles wrestlers.
It doesn't make sense for them to be in the tournament. Who do you have?
I think Jarrett and Hardy win. Yeah. I mean, especially the winner facing Cassidy and Darby Allin. I figure you'd do Jarrett and Matt Hardy. Yeah. Okay, so the other match, Big Bill and Brian Cage versus Trent Beretta and Matt Sydal. Winner faces MJF and Adam Cole.
Big Bill and
Brian Cage. I think there's no question.
Yeah.
And then the question is, how do MJF and Cole overcome Big Bill and Brian Cage? You gotta have MJF and Cole going against two heels, the same way they had them go against two heels on this Dynamite in Daddy Magic and the Butcher.
Do you think a double clothesline is going to come into play?
I hope so, for MJF's sake. So you think, I think we're going to see Orange Cassidy and Darby versus Jarrett and Matt Hardy, MJF and Adam Cole versus Big Bill and Brian Cage. Mm-hmm. So then who wins Cassidy and Allin versus Jarrett and Hardy?
Cassidy and Allin.
So, and then MJF and Cole, you think, beat Big Bill and Brian Cage?
Yeah.
So you think the final is Cassidy and Allin versus MJF and Cole?
Yeah.
So who wins?
I think MJF and Cole are going to win. Yeah.
No.
No?
Cassidy and Allin win. Something happens in the final that is just one more breaking point in the feud to continue the feud between MJF and Cole.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
No, the feud is put on pause for their forced friendship.
Yeah.
But something will happen in the championship match to where Cassidy and Darby Allin win, so they'll get the title shot. So we'll see FTR versus Cassidy and Allin.
Or they make it all the way to FTR, and that's when something goes wrong with their friendship, and that's what fuels the tension between their relationship.
True.
You know, because like it's a bigger deal to be cost the belts than to be cost an opportunity at the belts. You know. It's just so good that I don't want it to end. The Cole and MJF friendship. Yeah. Like there's so much. You may be right. It's hard to.
It could go either way.
Yeah.
Because it could go either way. Because whoever wins this tournament, I don't see them winning the tag belts.
Oh no, I don't think so either. Well, and it's FTR if FTR still have the belts at the end of this.
Right. We could be talking about Juice Robinson and Jay White.
I kind of hope we are. I want them to win the belts.
That would be. FTR haven't had a very long reign, but it would be nice for Robinson and White to win them. Yeah, that'd be cool.
For the Bullet Club to have a big win, to have belts.
Yeah.
And to get them off FTR, so FTR and CM Punk can focus on the trios titles.
Exactly. Yeah, I'd be for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, good call. Good fantasy booking there.
Thank you.
Yeah, it would be good for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Be good for FTR to go after the trios titles with Punk. Imagine the fucking House of Black versus CM Punk and FTR. Ooh.
Well, we've seen the House of Black showing up on Collision in pieces. It would be nice to have like a full trios representation there, you know. Although it looks like Black and Andrade are going to have something going on, so I guess it kind of depends on that.
True. Yeah, and
they got time. They can take their time, you know. Like they don't have to rush all this stuff happening at one time.
Right. Yeah, like I said, freeing up CM Punk and FTR to go after the trios titles, or just make a run as a trios, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But putting some gold on Jay White and Juice Robinson would be the smart move right now. New faction.
Yeah.
Get some heat going their way. They've been hot. Get them some belts. FTR is established. They're fine. They don't need the belts.
Mm-hmm.
White and Robinson could use them. It would just give them more heat.
Plus, like, yeah. Jay White with a belt seems like he would be such a dick
Yeah.
about it. Like,
Yeah.
it would be so good. And Juice
yeah.
Robinson acting all crazy with it. Like,
yeah, that would be a good thing.
Me, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, I don't think... We could check on it. But I don't think in AEW anyone's ever won one of these eliminator matches. One of these championship eliminator matches.
Well, they haven't had very many that I remember. You know? I mean...
Oh, they've had a few.
They've had a few. But it's not... I mean, like, on Ring of Honor, it's like every week there's a...
Proving ground
match.
Yeah.
Which I like better than the eliminator matches. You know, because they have the time limit draw element to it.
Yeah, I agree.
And I like that better. I wish that they would do that
well,
in AEW. If you can go 20 minutes with the champion without getting pinned, you deserve a title shot.
Okay.
Because then Adam Cole would have had a title shot against MJF, you know?
And he went 30 minutes against MJF.
Yeah, I was just using 20 minutes.
I know. I was just pointing it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you don't know what we're talking about, in Ring of Honor, they have, similar to the Eliminator matches in AEW, they have the Proving Ground matches, where it's very similar, but it's if you beat the champion or get a draw with the champion, get a time limit draw or a double disqualification, whatever, with the champion, you get a title match. So that's the big difference, is the draw.
Oh, is it if you get a double disqualification?
I just assume, because they say a draw, so
I think they
that's
say
a draw.
A time limit draw. Like, I think they specify.
Oh, they specify?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Double disqualification isn't seen very much, so.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's ever been seen in AEW. I've never seen it. I don't remember it ever happening. Double disqualification? No, never seen it.
Does that include double count out?
No, but I don't remember ever seeing that either.
Oh, I'm thinking of WWE. I was thinking of the Bronson Reed match.
Yeah.
Never mind.
But yeah, and I haven't seen anyone win one of those Proving Ground matches since Tony Khan has taken over.
Yeah, no. Although we also stopped watching like 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Something like that, 5 weeks ago.
Well, at some point soon here, we're going to start watching again so we know what's happening when we go see it.
We're going to get Ring of Honor again?
Mm-hmm.
Yes! I love Honor Club. That's fabulous. Okay, so let's talk about our last match. You ready?
Yeah, the main event, Kenny Omega of the Elite taking on Wheeler Yuta of the Blackpool Combat Club. Kenny Omega in his hometown of Edmonton. Yuta jumps Omega before the bell. Crowd crazy for Omega. Omega stomps on Yuta in the corner. Hits a backbreaker, goes for an early pin. 2 count. Kenny goes for You Can't Escape, which is where he does a fireman's carry roll, goes into the corner and does a moonsault. So he does the fireman's carry roll. He lands badly. He slips. He falls. And he acts like he hurt his neck. And he has that kinesio tape, or whatever it's called, on his neck and his shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was a planned spot. I don't see Kenny Omega messing up spot. I think it was planned. But he landed badly, and then he goes for the moonsault. He decides to still go for the moonsault, but in all this time he's wasted now, Yuta gets his knees up. Yuta takes momentum. Irish whips Omega into the barrier. They go to the outside. Yuta Irish whips Omega into the barrier after hitting a tope suicida to the outside. Back in the ring, Yuta rips off the middle turnbuckle cover, and he chokes Omega on the ropes. Yuta baseball slide kicks Omega into the steel barrier. Yuta hits Omega against the turnbuckle post back on the outside of the ring. Back in the ring, a backdrop for a 2 count by Yuta, and he slaps a rear chinlock on Omega. He goes for a pin, gets a 2 count. Omega back up with a spinning elbow strike, and then a Fisherman's Buster. Nice one on Yuta. Samoan drop by Yuta, goes for a pin, 2 count. Omega with a superplex, big superplex, for a 2.99 count on Yuta. Gets him up, chops him. Omega does. Yuta hits a bridging German suplex for a 2 count. Omega with a Snapdragon suplex, hits another Snapdragon suplex. Yuta rolls Omega up. Kenny Omega kicks out at 2, and then hits a V-trigger. Gets Yuta in position for the one-winged angel. No one's ever kicked out of it. Yuta reverses it in to the seatbelt, almost. Can't hook the leg. Gets a 2 count. Omega power bombs Yuta, covers him for 2. And here comes Don Callis. Security is holding him back. And as everyone is distracted with Don Callis coming down the aisle, and Omega's looking at him, the ref's looking at him, everyone's looking at Callis and the security, in from behind comes Konosuke Takeshita. He comes in, hits a blue thunder bomb on Omega. Yuta ascends the turnbuckle, hits a splash, covers Omega, 2 count only. Omega gets up, hits Yuta with the one-winged angel, gets the pin and the win. Great match, great main event. 4.5 bones out of 5. Great match, match of the night.
Yeah, I'm changing mine.
You're changing your match of the night?
I'm changing my match of the night. Even with the fun factor, I think I gotta give it to this match.
This is a fantastic match, and Omega made Yuta look great. I mean, Yuta did a great job making himself look great, but Omega did a great job making him look great as well.
I hope this match helps elevate Yuta in people's eyes, you know? Because I think people still view him, one, as the lesser member of the BCC, but 2, as, like, possibly not being worthy to be in the BCC, which I don't think is the case.
I don't think people view him that way.
I saw Yuta as a jobber sign.
I saw one person with that, yeah.
People online, too. Not always in Yuta's fan column.
So what else do you have to say about this main event?
Yuta looked good. I mean, you're right. Like, I think part of it was just Yuta looking good, but then a big part of it was Kenny Omega.
Yeah, he was up. I mean, he was up for this match. Main event of Dynamite. Yeah. This is one of the biggest matches of Yuta's career.
Yeah. Especially being against such a...
Maybe the biggest match of Yuta's career.
Top star opponent, you know?
Yeah. I mean, maybe the biggest match of Yuta. Probably the biggest match of Yuta's career, honestly.
Because he hasn't had a title shot for the big title, right?
Not that I remember. Yeah. Main event of Dynamite against Kenny Omega. Biggest match of his career. Yeah, gotta be.
He's a former Pure champion on Ring of Honor.
He's a Ring of Honor Pure champion, yeah.
But I don't think he ever had a Ring of Honor title shot either, like a main title shot.
I don't think so.
That I remember anyway. At least not with new Ring of Honor.
Still not as big as main eventing against Omega on Dynamite.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, he had a good series, Yuta did, where he took the V-trigger and then escaped the one-winged angel and then went into the seatbelt. I thought that was a really great sequence. My only other note that I really want to emphasize is how much I fucking love a blue thunder bomb. It's one of my favorite moves. I don't know why. I just think it looks so cool when it's done, and like the landing always looks like extra brutal when Takeshita does it. I'm a big blue thunder bomb fan.
I see. Yeah, look good. I thought for a second Yuta was going to win.
I absolutely thought Yuta was going to win.
Omega had been on a little of a losing streak. Mm-hmm. He kind of needed this one, you know?
Yeah.
I thought they were going to give Yuta the big upset.
I did too. Especially when Takeshita got involved. Like, after he came out, I was like, oh my god, this is going to be over. Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad Omega won.
Yeah.
After the match, Takeshita stays on and then outruns Ring of Honor World Champion Claudio Castagnoli. He and Takeshita attack Omega. In come the Young Bucks and Hangman Page with steel chairs. The Young Bucks hit the BTE trigger on Claudio, and they're holding him for a steel chair shot from Hangman. And then in from behind come the Dark Order, and they take the chair out of Hangman Page's hands as he's getting ready to hit Castagnoli with it. And the show goes off the air. Yeah.
Oh, that's like,
So
just killing me.
I'd be interested if anybody was there and actually has a report. I would love to hear what happened next. If you were in Edmonton and are listening.
Yeah, I'm going to look on Twitter because sometimes people post videos of like what happened after the cameras turned off.
Yeah, I would love to hear or see what happened.
Yeah.
We don't know what happened next. Some sort of showdown. I mean, the Elite are facing the Dark Order on Rampage on Friday.
Yeah.
In a trios match, so...
Do you think that grab of the chair puts the final nail in the Dark Order are now heels coffin?
I don't know. I guess... I think them leaving the Elite to get beat up the other night, last week on Dynamite, I think that made them heels.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're really turning the Dark Order heels or if they're just trying to make them a shade of gray because they're so goofy and the fans, like the Dark Order. I don't know. I mean, and they do so many like online videos and like gaming videos to connect with the fans. I don't know if you can really turn them heel and have it work. Have people cheer against them. Against these wrestlers with whom they feel so connected.
I don't know. Dominic Mysterio was on Up, Up, Down, Down.
I'm not talking about WWE. I'm talking about this.
I don't think that matters.
No, I think it's. I feel it feels different with the Dark Order. I feel like people really feel connected to them. AEW fans feel connected to the Dark Order.
I love them, and I feel connected to them.
The hardcore fans do. Yeah. I feel like, but It seems like they're turning him heel. I guess I could be overestimating how connected they are to the fans. I could be.
What this makes me really wonder is if they turn heel on AEW, what does that mean for them on Ring of Honor with Stu Grayson and the Righteous, which are definitely a heel faction? Like,
I don't know. I don't know what's happening over on Ring of Honor.
I can't wait to find out.
I don't know. But, pretty damn good show. Pretty damn good Dynamite.
They've had a good run recently.
They've had a great run
recently. We haven't had a bad show in a while.
Yeah,
not bad, but like mediocre. We haven't had a mediocre show in a while.
Going into tonight, I looked at the lineup and I was like, oh, it looks pretty good. We'll see. Looks good. But, man, they put on a damn good show. Yeah. We got, Jericho, some development with him maybe going with Callis. Awesome main event with Omega beating Yuta. More build-up in the Elite versus the Dark Order and the Elite versus the Blackpool Combat Club.
They're doing an awesome, double build.
More intrigue in this blind Eliminator Tag Team Tournament, which came out of nowhere and has been an awesome idea.
Yeah, great idea.
And this... MJF is just hilarious, really, as this fawning friend of Adam Cole. He's hilarious. We're obviously in for some brutal turn.
Yes.
Some evil shit very soon. But MJF is a very funny man. Like, his comic timing is flawless. He's a funny guy.
Yeah.
Very talented guy. Talented on the mic, in the ring. I can't say enough good about MJF. Talented on the mic, in the ring. He's funny. Always makes his opponents look like $1 million. Makes himself look great in the process. He's one of the best things they have, and he's the world champion for good reason. He's fantastic.
Well said.
He is fantastic. And to think it all came out of him being like Cody Rhodes' best friend. That was how he was first presented on AEW television.
Oh, and he threw in the towel, didn't he?
Yeah, and he threw in the towel on a Cody Rhodes match. And I wouldn't have seen it coming back then. If you told me that guy's going to be the world champion, people would have been like, what? Huh?
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have seen any of this coming. But he's just... he's the top heel... Certainly in AEW, maybe in wrestling. Either he or Dominic Mysterio or Roman Reigns. Those would be the top three for sure. Depends how you're measuring it. success or crowd heat or ability or a mixture or whatever. Those are your top 3 heels.
Does Don Callis not count?
I was talking about wrestlers.
Oh, okay.
Just
okay.
Wrestlers. Don Callis would make it 4. Yeah, Callis, MJF, Dominic Mysterio, Roman Reigns are your most hated men in wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the most hated woman in wrestling? Women don't really get a lot of hate. You think Saraya of the Outcasts?
Possibly.
Maybe Saraya of the Outcasts.
Who is not the leader
Yeah.
of the Outcasts, but I feel like is the one that's like the most heelish.
Yeah.
She's in the ring the least, anyway.
WWE didn't. Bailey?
No.
They don't have any real strong heel reactions going for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Asuka's a heel, but I don't remember hearing a lot of boos for Asuka.
The last crowd on Raw was booing Rhea.
Yeah,
And
true.
And so she might be actually coming across as a heel now.
Well, let's not talk about WWE. This isn't the time or place for
Oh,
it.
I thought you were asking about women heels.
I was, but we're not. It's not. We don't even talk about WWE on this show.
Okay.
Yeah, great show. So, you will next hear from us Sunday. We will have our AEW Collision wrap-up show. And wherever you listen to podcasts, please make sure to subscribe. That's how you will hear. We do 2 weekly shows. We do the Dynamite wrap-up and the Collision wrap-up. Subscribe, and you'll get all of our shows. And, of course, we do pay-per-view shows and things here and there, too. But those are our weekly, or the Dynamite and the Collision wrap-up shows. And also on YouTube, we have some videos. We have me opening an AEW Elite crate. We have me opening a bunch of packs of AEW trading cards, trying to complete my set, which I'm very near completing now from the 2022 cards. We're going to have a review of the new AEW video game up very soon on YouTube. We've been putting our podcasts on there. If you want to listen to them on YouTube, feel free to. And we're going to have more content coming on YouTube as well, more coming out more regularly. So watch for us on YouTube and subscribe there as well.
Speaking of YouTube, tonight on YouTube, they can watch us live at 7 p.m. on Last Week in Wrestling podcast.
Yep. Tonight, which is Thursday night, the 6th? Thursday night, the 6th. We're on Last Week in Wrestling. And subscribe and rate us wherever you listen to podcasts. That's how we get new listeners. That's how we get new follows, and then we can all meet each other and talk about wrestling together and all be one big happy family, and it'll be a beautiful thing. So folks, thanks very much for listening, and as Mick Foley would say, have a nice day. Bye.